If you pass on and someone inherits the house and they sell it for fair market value right away, there's no capital gains tax. Well, that's a benefit we'd be getting rid of if we So how do we get around this? How do we preserve more assets so that not only are you having money that can take care of the extra things that Medicaid doesn't pay for, or your family member gets this extra money, and yet you're still qualifying for Medicaid. Here's the easiest thing, and I mentioned in the last session, this becomes more of an art form than a science because it really does depend not just on how much you have, but in what you have, and we can convert things. And I'll talk a little bit about some of the rules, but here is the perfect plan ahead, make sure that it happens, save 100% of everything you want. We call it the two-trust solution, even though there's technically more than two trusts. There's an irrevocable property trust and an irrevocable family trust. Any real estate you put into the irrevocable property trust. It's just a little bit different. I'll talk about that rule. Any liquid assets or other things you want to preserve, you put it into the irrevocable family trust. 5 years after you transfer that stuff in, it's off the books. Medicaid doesn't see it. Or if they see it, they can't care about it. It's as if you never owned it. Well, that's great. That's wonderful. Why don't we just set that up? Well, okay, here's the thing. You can't be the trustee of your own trust. Your spouse can't be the trustee of your own trust. So usually for my senior clients, it's like, are you ready to give up control of everything you own, usually to one of the kids as a trustee, to the point where if you want to get some of your money out, they can say no.
If you think it's important for educational videos like this to get out there, then please help us out by subscribing to the channel.
Oh no, I don't know if I want to do that, but that's the step that you need to take. So yeah, we can set up these irrevocable trusts so that it preserves stuff. Now, let me talk just a little bit of the rules of irrevocable property trust that's a little bit different from the family trust. Right. The person whose assets are being protected, we're taking all their liquid assets, putting it into the irrevocable family trust. It's written into the trust, they are not the beneficiary. Okay, it's their money, but they're not the beneficiary. Well, how do they get the money? We craft it so that the trustee is the beneficiary while the person's still alive, while the couple's still alive. So they can take the money out, put it in their own pocket, and then turn around and give it back to the person. So it's the kid taking the money out and then giving it to their parents, or paying for things for their parents. It can never pay directly out of the trust to pay for the person or give it to the person. It's got to be two steps. What about the irrevocable property trust? It's real estate. The person retains the right to live in the property and the right to any income that's generated off of it. Usually this is their residence, or there's a vacation house, they're not renting it out. There's no real income. But what does that actually do? They can live on the property and they get the right to income. Are you familiar with the capital gains tax on real estate? You sell real estate, bought it at $100,000, you sold it at $300,000, there's $200,000 worth of gain. If you pass on and someone inherits the house and they sell it for fair market value right away, there's no capital gains tax. Well, that's a benefit we'd be getting rid of if we just put it into that family trust. But retaining the right to the income and the right to live in the property, they say that's still part of your, quote, taxable estate, which means it gets bumped up to fair market value. So when the family turns around and sells the house, it's fair market value as the date of death. However, for Medicaid's rules, you just have the right to the income and the right to live in the property. That's not enough that we say you have to spend it down. So we're really straddling these two sets of rules with this irrevocable property trust. So real estate isn't going to slam your family with capital gains taxes down the road. So, okay, back to the gym. Broad overview. You're moving those assets in 5 years later, it's done. Okay, that's the ideal plan.